In the middle of a desolate sea, there was an island that no sailor dared approach. They called it the Cursed Island. Its history was filled with whispers of ships that disappeared, sailors who lost their minds, and a darkness that swallowed the sun. Some said the island was once home to an ancient civilization that angered the gods, while others claimed it was a prison for spirits who roamed the earth long before man. One night, a crew of desperate sailors found themselves caught in a violent storm, and their ship was dragged towards the island. The captain, a seasoned man of the sea, had heard the legends but didn't believe in curses. As their ship ran aground on the black, jagged rocks of the island, the storm abruptly ceased, leaving an eerie calm in its wake. The crew disembarked, hoping to repair their vessel, but something about the island felt wrong. The trees stood twisted and gnarled, the air was thick with the scent of decay, and strange symbols were carved into the rocks and trees. As night fell, the men heard faint whispers carried on the wind, voices that seemed to come from deep within the island. One by one, the crew began to disappear. Some walked into the dense forest, their eyes glazed over as if in a trance, never to return. Others claimed to see shadows moving just beyond the light of their campfire, shapes that were not quite human. Panic set in, and soon, the remaining sailors were gripped by a terror they couldn't explain. The captain, desperate to save his men, ventured into the heart of the island, where he found a crumbling temple. Inside, there stood an ancient stone altar, covered in blood and surrounded by bones. As he approached, the whispers grew louder, and the shadows around him began to take form. They were the spirits of the island's original inhabitants, cursed to wander for eternity, hungry for the souls of those who dared set foot on their land. The captain realized too late that the island wasn't cursed. It was a trap, and now, he too would become part of its legend, forever lost to the darkness of the cursed island. The captain's heart raced as the shadows encircled him. He felt the air grow cold, and his breath came out in ragged gasps. As the spirits drew closer, their translucent forms began to take shape gaunt, hollow-eyed figures draped in the tattered remnants of ancient robes. They whispered in a language he couldn't understand, but the message was clear: he was doomed. But the captain wasn't ready to give in. He grabbed a broken piece of stone from the altar, holding it defensively in front of him. "I will not fall here," he shouted into the darkness. His voice echoed in the temple, but it was swallowed by the whispering voices of the dead. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled, and the temple seemed to come alive. The stone altar began to glow with an unnatural red light, and the air became thick with a sense of malevolence. The spirits moved faster now, closing in on him from all sides. Just as the captain thought he would be overtaken, he noticed something, a symbol carved into the floor near the altar, glowing faintly beneath the dust. It was the same symbol he had seen etched into the trees and rocks outside, but here, it was surrounded by a circle of runes. Without fully understanding why, he dropped the stone and traced the shape of the symbol with his hand. The moment his fingers completed the symbol, the spirits let out a wail of agony. The glow from the altar intensified, and the entire temple began to shake violently. The shadows retreated, writhing and screeching, as if in pain. The captain staggered back, watching in disbelief as the spirits were pulled towards the glowing symbol, their forms dissolving into the air. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the chaos stopped. The glow from the altar faded, and the temple fell into a deathly silence. The spirits were gone, banished by whatever ancient magic he had unwittingly activated. The captain collapsed to the ground, exhausted but alive. He looked around the temple, his mind racing. The island wasn't just cursed, it was a prison, designed to contain the vengeful spirits of the island's original inhabitants. And somehow, he had found the key to that prison. But his relief was short-lived. As he stood up to leave, he heard a faint sound, a heartbeat, slow and rhythmic, coming from the altar. The captain's blood ran cold as the realization dawned on him. The spirits might have been banished, but something far older and far more dangerous still lay dormant within the island. The curse wasn't broken. It was merely waiting, With a sinking feeling in his chest, the captain fled the temple, racing back towards the shore where his remaining crew waited. As he emerged from the jungle, he saw their horrified faces staring at the sky. He turned, and his heart sank. Above the island, the clouds had begun to spiral, forming a dark, ominous vortex. The storm wasn't natural, it was the island's doing. And it was getting stronger. "Do we need to leave now?" the captain shouted, scrambling to reach the ship. His men hesitated for only a moment before following him, their fear overriding any questions. As they set sail, the winds howled, and the waves rose higher, battering their vessel. The island, now barely visible through the storm, seemed to pulse with a dark energy, as if it was alive and angry. The captain gripped the wheel tightly, his mind filled with dread. They had escaped the spirits, but he knew deep down that the island had not finished with them.